All right, another surf report on deck. And this one could be finally like a reprieve from this contentious energy that we've been feeling. And can't promise anything, as always, but the energy does seem to be shifting, at least temporarily. And I'm still feeling I'm still feeling a lot better. Thank you for everybody's well wishes. But I might have to clear my throat periodically throughout. This thing is really deep in there and just sort of stagnant. I am taking care of myself though, keeping my immune system high. And here we have our summary slide for today. And the goal here obviously is to find the triangulation. Inside that triangulation, we can find the indicators for the main influence. And then later, we're going to do the same thing for the solutions. We're going to triangulate for the best actions that we can take for the week to capture the energies afforded to us. So here are the energies. First of all, the I-Ching is our barometer. We throw coins out in a manner of the ancient Chinese method of the I-Ching, and this time we got 42, which is increase. And if you go direct one for one, the best, in my opinion, the best indicator of increase in the astrology is Jupiter. Now, there is some very interesting things happening with Jupiter, but it's not until towards the end of the week. Okay. Let's see here. In terms of the astrology, we have a ton of stuff going on. We got 5 retrogrades. We got the sun brand new in Virgo. Mercury is going to end up going into Libra. Meanwhile, Venus is already in home in Libra. By the way, Mercury leaves home from Virgo into Libra. Mars and Mercury oppose Neptune. We have a trine to Pluto, which is that opportunity that we kept talking about a couple of weeks ago. These are 2 slow planets, so they're still in that opportunity. But the big news is is highlighted here: Venus trine Jupiter. This is a really magical trine. Easy trine meaning easy energy, back and forth. We have some similarities with Venus and Jupiter, but Venus is home, remember, to Libra. So it's that sort of justice, balance sort of a theme, and an easy energy over to Jupiter. And where is Jupiter? We're going to get into that. I don't want to get into too much detail. We're going to do a day by day for this astrology later. And then ultimately we have a lot of trines. So things are feeling easier this week. There is a T-square in there that I didn't note. That's with the moon. So there is going to be a day of increased emotional state. That's still increase. And then we head over to the dream bot. This is the collective unconscious. And people are moving. There's a transportation theme in there. And there's also an experience theme. One thing I didn't mention in here is the earth signs this week. Earth is all about experience, and so that really makes sense for the dream bot. The moving and transportation have something to do with Mercury. Well, actually, and Jupiter, because Mercury is sort of the short-term travel. Jupiter is considered the longer-term travel, and there is an inconjunct in between of those. Bad English. So anyway, and this is just scratching the surface. There is a ton of stuff going in the astrology, but you look at the dream bot, that's represented by the green circle. That's right in the middle, moving, transportation, but experience. Experience is the big thing, right in the middle, all those earth signs, and it just so happens to be green, earth, but green is what we picked for the dream bot. So all that matches nicely. The I-Ching is increase. That's more of that Jupiter influence. And so that's a little bit off to the side, but it does overlap. And that overlap's going to feel hopefully like a flow state. Things are easy. They move easy. And easy isn't always a good thing because contentious things can come in easily. We'll talk about that. But we have a high congruency score. And if you do this right, Flow state is where soul just naturally comes out, comes beaming out from your heart center, and your life path, or the experience that the universe has set for you, is imminent. It's right there. You're in it. You don't have to go seeking it. And that's what this week is all about. All right. Is everybody ready? Did that set the stage properly? So let's get into it. Next. Starting off with some comments. In case you missed it, I'm not going to read through all this, don't worry. But of note, I wanted to make sure everyone got a chance to read this. And not everybody's on Telegram, but this is not our person, Matt Couch, but he says that at no time in history have the people forcing others into compliance ever been the good guys. Well, our Ravi says, and at no time in history have the people who were trusting and compliant with unlawful orders ever had a good outcome. And that is a really good point. Someone rack your brains and try to get us a situation where this isn't true, because I can't think of any. So anyway, just some thoughts to think about. And as far as praise for these CIRF reports, these are important because people are listening for different kinds of matters, and it really matters to me so that I give you more of what you guys need. So Rue says, I have been carefully planning for this exact time to settle some legal matters. These reports have helped. That's important for obvious reasons, legal issues. And according to experts in astrology, there are appropriate times to do certain legal things and certain times not to do certain legal things. So unfortunately, I feel like 1 week out is what I do on a weekly basis, these CIRF reports. So on a legal time frame and more like financial stuff, maybe it would help to have more of a longer outlook at the energies. I don't know. I'll think about incorporating those with all the extra time that I have. But I do envision something like that to have a little bit further reach out. Radio Hill says, you are my new guidance in terms of astrology. You are thorough and clear. Your weekly reports are great, and I recommended you to friends on Facebook. Thank you, Radio Hill. I really appreciate that. Big shout out to the shares. SM says, CIRF report day. Woo, it's been wild. Yes, it has. And I don't know if this week is going to be just as wild or wilder, but we'll go through those energies. Terry says, patiently waiting the CIRF report. Let's find our solution. That's right. And the solutions are always towards the end of these videos. And that's not on purpose. We need to know what you're going to feel so that you don't end up just escaping those feelings, and instead remember to employ the solutions. And then Teresa says, it's been one hell of a week. Can't wait to see what planets are going to say about next week. Yes. So we have a lot of people waiting for these CIRF reports. Let's move on. Now, Brian Adams, I put that here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he talks about balancing. This is going to be a really important concept for today because of this Venus aspect, which wants balance and justice, but balance. And even in a trine, we need balance. We mostly think of balance in terms of oppositions, and we have quite a few of those this week. No One You Know says, talks about John Lash, right action. I encourage you to go back to last video and read these two comments. You're going to get something out of those, okay, complete with links. So big shout out to Brian and No One You Know. Shout out to all these comments. You can see all these people who wrote, and then we're not even talking about Telegram. You're missing a lot of info if you're not over on Telegram. So I encourage you to click that link in the comments below. And then the comment of the week is, this is voted by you, by all the other people. It's Teresa, the best, most highest voted comment. I have been sitting on my sofa waiting for this to start. How awesome. All right. Remember, people, go back and listen because, No One You Know spent a lot of time putting this information in here and only got one up arrow from me. How sad. How sad. No, so seriously, go back and make sure you go back to these YouTube after you've seen the video, come back a couple days later, see what comments are there, and up arrow some of those that you find very helpful. Thank you. All right, let's get into the DreamBot. We're already at 10 minutes. All right, let's zoom in. Here we go. By the way, did you guys know, you guys remember the explosions from last week in the DreamBot? Very high in the DreamBot. A lot of you want to know if these things are predictive in nature, which they have proven to be in the past. Not 100%. But we had that Mike Adams expectation of a false flag. It might have something to do with the ammo and the guns, but also explosions. And so my point is, DreamBots have about 2 weeks latent time. Sometimes they're more, when you do predictive dreaming, in terms of looking at the DreamBot into predictive dreams, in other words, the intentional dreaming, those are more like 2 days. But if you're just doing a random DreamBot, most of those manifest between 2 and 6 weeks. So that's just throwing that out. It doesn't mean just because explosion is no longer in the DreamBot run that it's no longer in play. These things take time to manifest, if they're going to manifest at all. And hopefully not. I don't want to see any explosions. There has been quite a few of them already. Hijack is the top word today or this week. Hijack. I think that might be day residue. I don't know if there actually has been hijacking, but out in Afghanistan, people have been talking about did Taliban hijack one of the planes? So that might be day residue. But nonetheless, all the red arrows here are about moving and transportation. And on Telegram, I just forwarded something about Australia. We're going to get into that in the weekly stuff. So we have Mercury here. Moving and transportation is all about Mercury. And including hijack, these are segmented because they're not like parking has to do with transportation, but it's not moving. There's the word moving down here, goes, counter, driving. So there is a definite meme. It's not real thick. It's not profound like last week. Last week was memorable with the tightness of those memes. This week, a little bit loose, but it is definitely a Mercury type of thing. And it's about transportation. Also, we have blue arrows with experience. This one has to do with the earth signs, I believe. You always see the astrology coming through in these DreamBots in the collective unconscious. No accident. We are going to have 5 planets and earth signs this week. And so massage, very much an earth sign. There's very few things that are more earthy than massage, because it's hands-on, it's a sensory experience, song, drink, experience even. So blue, it's not real strong, it's not real lengthy, not a lot of words in there, but it's definite there. It's an experience. That's the earth signs. All right, let's go back. Let's get into the astrology. Here's the overview. Again, this is not on our chart. I had to handwrite this in. It's the Saturn square Uranus, and you can see that is starting to get stronger now with Uranus in retrograde. You can see the red getting a little bit darker, and that'll go exact, I don't know, in a couple months. This is pretty much the rest of the year, this square. And then Mercury is going to head into Libra, like I talked about. And then look at all these greens. These are trines. There's some inconjuncts in here. We'll talk about all those. There was something else I was going to point out. Don't remember. All right, Thursday. Let's darken this place up a little bit. Here we go. All righty. First and foremost, look at all the earth signs. It's 5 of them. That signifies, well, Earth means sort of, this is your Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn. And putting all those together is of the same type, Earth. And it's very practical. It's real, sort of cautious, dependable, capable, and it's experiential. It's what I have. It's very earthbound, hence the name Earth. Material. So 3 of those planets, the Sun, newly into Virgo. This is the details matter, a little bit more critical thinking, especially because you've got Mercury in Virgo. Mercury is home to Virgo, by the way, but still very more critical thinker. Your rational mind works very well, maybe too well sometimes. And then Mars is in there too. Willpower is transforming because it's easy energy. Another trine over to Uranus. There's trines to all these things, well, except the Sun. And trines are what making up all these Earth signs. So Pluto over here, this is the death and rebirth. And then you've got Uranus. So there's going to be like a very loose grand Earth trine again, like we had last week with different planets. But it's earthy. Now, here's our first indicator of some Jupiter alignments, or the importance of Jupiter. Jupiter is retrograde in Aquarius. Jupiter in Aquarius really wants more of those Aquarian things, like good for all mankind, but wisdom in disclosure, freedom to travel long distances. That's Jupiter. So there's a lot of different archetypes that can be ascertained here. And you have an inconjunct, which is an adjustment with Mercury. Mercury and Jupiter. These are 2 indicators of travel. Mercury is the short distance traveler. Jupiter is the long distance traveler. These are adapting to each other. How does that work? Well, they're both... I'm gonna couch that topic when we get to it on the 31st. All right. And let's just leave it at that. Let's move on. Sorry about that. I don't want to put things off too much, but Friday, 27th, this is where it's really much of the same. You have the same players up here. You have now another planet we call the moon. It's not a planet, but in astrology, we call it a planet. And now we're up to 6 Earth signs. And you can see this very loose, grand Earth trine. So it's very experiential. Easy energy. Now, this is where I said that easy can be like a bad thing too, or feeling bad. I don't like the terms good and bad, by the way. But you have a death and rebirth with Pluto. It's the destroyer. And that's easily destroying your thoughts, what's rational, and it's easily destroying your critical willpower or your shoulds, and it's transforming them. What feels like the end, but it's really the beginning. We're going to get into that with the rave. Yeah, I like foreshadowing. You do have the Saturn square Uranus, which is highlighted here. This is mainly because of the moon, and that's still within our square. So the change that Uranus is doing to our material world and is rubbing the status quo raw. And the status quo is changing. And also this is combating back to Uranus. So Saturn is trying to enforce its way on the collective will back to change. It's trying to create, ultimately, this pressure is to create a new status quo. Then we have, let's see, where do I talk about that? Well, it's not exact enough yet. Let's move on. Saturday, get into the weekend. And we have the, no kidding, grand Earth trine. The moon around Uranus means that your emotions might change very quickly. You might change your mind quite a bit, or your heart might change. Your desire to experience, which is Taurus, Your stubbornness might change. Ooh, that sounds sort of ironic and weird. Well, Uranus is weird in Taurus. This is where all the big things in history have happened. And we're in much the same. Uranus in Taurus is changing the way the collective mind thinks. It's the state of the material world itself is changing. And that pressure is there this week, even though there's this grand Earth trine. And that trine, let's see, there's still 6 Earth signs. So it's just laying back, experiencing. It doesn't mean you have to be lazy. I mean, these Earth signs are really good workers. They're hard workers. So you can work hard this week. It's not a problem. It makes it easy to do so. And you might even get some really cool inner power when you invoke this. But it's not a lot of stress. That's what takes you out of the flow. This is a very flow chart right here. It's easy energy all the way through. When you get resistance points, you're off of this grand Earth trine and more into the pressure, because the moon is where your emotions are. And it's also got a square over to Jupiter. There's another Jupiter indicator, but this is a very temporary one. So you want to just stay in the flow. And the flow is mainly this week, it's very earth-based, so it's through your 5 senses. Experience is about the journey this week. Yes, earth signs can be goal-oriented. They can be stubborn. There's your Taurus. Not really all that adaptable, but with Uranus and Pluto in this mix, it's going to really allow you to be a little bit more adaptable. That's not your primary though, but it's about allowing the universe to show you where that flow state is. And if you get rid of your resistance, you can easily enter that state. And it's a full body state, not just mental. It's mental and emotional and behaviors. So enter that state as best you can, because it's not staying there forever. You can see on Sunday, the 29th, the easy energy is sort of gone. And we're left with Sun square Moon as it's being conjunct into the North Node, emotional over the future, that sort of stuff, and then contentious and out of balance. This is sort of an out of balance when it's combined with the Sun square Moon. My identity, my ego is in conflict with my emotions, especially when I'm thinking about the future or planning or feeling the life path. Sort of contentious, isn't it? My ego can get lost or confused in where I need to go. So you might feel that on August 29th. Let's see here. Jupiter now, I want to point out that it's sort of naked right now. No alignments with it. So it's sort of hanging out, waiting for that main influence. So let's get into August 30th. We have a lot more trines again. Easy energy. Mercury goes into Libra. Mercury leaves Virgo. Mercury works well in Libra. Still a very rational place. It's an air sign. But it's not home per se. And there's no fall or no decrement or anything. It's just different. Thoughts turn into more balancing. I want to feel justice. I'm rationalizing justice. I'm rationalizing harmony, beauty, the outside experience, the outside world. What can provide more peace? That sort of thing. Those are your thoughts. And Jupiter still naked, but a lot more flow this week. And we have a balancing act here. You got Mars oppose Neptune, and this is within 2 degrees now, this opposition. So we need to balance the shoulds. That's the Mars in Virgo, the shoulds versus extreme escapism. Neptune in Pisces makes you just want to hide away from the world and go smoke some joints or whatever. That's the extreme of Neptune. And this is the checkout. This is the dissociative disorder in mental health. There's another form of escapism, sometimes uncontrollable. Some people escape their bodies so they don't have to feel their pain. So watch out for this. You need to have both. You need to be able to see your desires of escapism or see your maybe very mystical dreams, etc. on the one hand, but you need to be able to hang in there and not guilt yourself for not knowing what to do or finding resistance in doing stuff. So that's what this alignment here, if you can think about, oh, I should do this and that, but I don't want to. And it's this makes it easy to just go escape it. So watch out for escapism. Again, I know we talked about that many times. All right, here it is, Tuesday, 31st. This is watching out. Here's the alignment for Australia. Just so happens you've got Mercury. This is short-term travel. And the reason why I put this here is because there might be a trucker strike in Australia making a point, but they're vying for their freedom. And I'm shocked by how many people don't know what's happening in Australia. I'm shocked. Of course, mainstream media isn't covering it because they don't want you to know, I guess, what happens outside other than Afghanistan. But check that out. Check out what people are struggling with in Australia. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. So Australia is making a stance, and the alignment is definitely here. If you look at it, it's Mercury, Trine, so easy energy, Trine down to Saturn. This is like the government, the foundation. This is easily making a stance to the status quo. This is travel and government easily moving. The energy between those two archetypes are moving back and forth easily. So here's where the magic really begins. You have the pressure of Venus square Pluto. So you're getting an overhaul in your relationships. You're getting an overhaul in what it means to have peace and harmony. It's pressured. It's conflicted. You have conflict between, here's ironic, peace. You have conflict between peace and inner power. Let's see, with some other things for Pluto, death and rebirth. I'm thinking of some alternative things, but there's pressure between that. And then the outlet then goes down to Jupiter. So you have an outlet twice because you have a T-square here with the moon at the pinnacle here. You have two squares, which are adding pressure. This is a pressure cooker on your emotions. But look, there's an outlet, easy outlet, and that's down to Jupiter. Jupiter is the outlet. Excuse me. So as Jupiter becomes the outlet, and this is going to get stronger and stronger, which I have another further out chart here to show you, is this happening. Venus, Trine, Jupiter. This is the magic alignment starting on the 31st. So you have this T-square. This is going to take your attention. And again, it's going to be conflicted. So you're going to have inner conflict. You're going to have probably projecting out to the world and seeing all the conflict out there. If you relax, enter into the flow state, that easy energy takes you down to Jupiter. So Jupiter, as we mentioned before, is wisdom, long distance travel, higher level learning in a context of collective good, individual freedoms, anti-establishment, all those things that are Aquarian. And now you have the two financials are together. So you have a pressure with Venus and Pluto, and that pressure builds. But Venus, the planet of finance, equilibrium, beauty, harmony, is easily outletted to the other finance, which is Jupiter, is a higher level finance. So that's really interesting how both of these are in a trine together. So the two finance symbols in the zodiac are together, or two of them. There's more. Like worth is more of a Taurus thing, but disregard that. We're looking at Venus trine Jupiter. Okay. Becomes the outlet. So what does that mean? It's like a radar. You know how like you see this dish? It's the energies end up here. You got pressure over on the top side with the T-square. You got pressure over here, and both of those outlets end up over here, just like a radar, where the energies come into the radar dish, and they bounce off the thing and focus in on the actual receiver right in the middle of the dish. So almost exactly what's happening here to Jupiter. So very positive, very lucky, very optimistic, but expansive. And that, my friends, is where the I-Ching is showing us. It's expansive. It's increase. Everything's increasing. And all the energy, just like a satellite dish, is coming into Jupiter. It's lucky. It's lucky for the collective. We can look at that too. This could be the start of a very lucky period for the free collective. That's a very Aquarian statement. Jupiter in Aquarius. It's just sent chills down my spine. Now, let's look at when this goes exact, because Venus is still 7 degrees away from the equivalent of where Jupiter is, 25 degrees, 18 degrees for Venus. So when does Venus and Jupiter go exact on a trine? Enter, oh shoot, it's still got those circles. Oh, can I? Let me do this. Let me do this. I'll change the order that way. Bring to front. There we go. All right. This is September 6th. And let me get my bearings here. Venus is trine Jupiter at an exact. It's 25 degrees, 1 minute in their respective signs. So it's September 6th. So the Venus trine Jupiter alignment, which is what the I-Ching is pointing us to, starts on August 31st. It goes exact a week later, and then so we can infer that this trine is going to last another week after that. So it's about 2-week period. It's basically the first 2 weeks in September. We're looking at a radar dish to very positive, optimistic Jupiter in Aquarius. It could be a very flow state for the collective. And it doesn't mean it can't be hard or won't be hard, but remember the archetypes. Jupiter's very optimistic, and it's Aquarian. So it is all of us. It's all of us, and it's for the individual freedom. That's what's so paradoxical about Aquarius. Is it Is it individual or is it collective? It's both. They are concerned about the collective. They're infatuated with it for collective good, but they're also infatuated with individual freedom. So very, very positive. Something to look for is this is even more substantiated to the flow state. This is the flow alignment, Venus trine Jupiter. How positive. And then don't forget what Venus is on this. It's positive, optimistic Jupiter for the collective good and individual freedom on this side, but it goes to Venus that wants harmony, peace, justice. Easy for optimistic collective and individual freedoms to influence justice. How awesome is that? And balance. So anyway, this is the Australia Day. The thing to look for, it might be lasting that strike might be lasting the entire alignment of Venus trine Jupiter. Find it phenomenal. Meanwhile, the transportation planet Mercury is still in a trine over to Saturn in Aquarius. Very, very interesting how as above, so below. Now, Wednesday the 1st, really pretty much the same. I don't know if there's really all that much different here. Mercury's still further into Libra. Still got a few trines, some earthy energy. We're down to only 4 earth signs. So that flow possibility state sort of winds down, but it transitions over into the Jupiter trine Venus. Is going to be that emphasis. Again, without the help of these triangulations, in my mind, how do you figure out what is the strongest energy here? And so that's why I personally like using the I-Ching to help us hone in on, hey, what is it that we need to focus on? Which one of these energies is going to be the most dominant? And they chose, as you're going to see, this Jupiter influence. So here we go. Let's talk about the I-Ching. Remember, we're still in the influence. So we have hexagram 42 with one change line. Line 6 is increase. Substantial progress and increasing prosperity are exhilarating and good. Yes, duh. Periods of increase can be of short duration. It furthers one to ride the rapids now while the waves of opportunity are high. And that's why I wrote until mid-September, because I think this has all to do with Venus trine Jupiter, and that's going to last about 2 weeks. The biggest energy, most exact energy there is going to be about September 6th, just so you can get a reference for times. So that translates to the most increase you're going to feel. More is going to be more along the lines of September 6th. The most good feeling, the most Jupiter in Aquarius feeling is around September 6th. Let's continue with 42. Leadership in times of increasing opportunity involves commitment to the needs of cohorts and dependents. By remembering that to lead is to serve, a leader strengthens his or her ability to bring about lasting increase in prosperity. Is that Jasara? I don't know. I'm just thinking about that. I mean, I read these earlier, obviously, but I didn't think about that until now. Oh, man, I hope so. In a time of general increase, those who contribute most directly to the common good will achieve the greatest and most long-lasting rewards. Now, who gets to determine what actions are of the best common good? I think you got to look at the underlying intentions. A lot of people are wanting common good, but the way they're going about it is controlling. So I think that's got to be included in here, which according to this would be not very good long-lasting rewards. When opportunities for increase arise, very good fortune comes to those who act swiftly and boldly without falling into the trap of letting their actions be merely self-serving. There's the indicator. According to the law of one, service to self. They're going to go to, if you're really good at it, they're going to progress and transcend to a very controlling world as we part our separate ways. So service to others will go the more peaceful route, the Libra and Venus route. If you aspire to a position of prominence, the most enduring strategy is to work to raise the tide of your entire community, company, or relationship rather than setting out to swim upstream on your own. And this all just speaks to don't be too self-serving. Yes, there is that Aquarian component, which is self-independence, but they are wanting for the common good. Not to control the common good, not to control the collective, but genuinely for the common good. All right, line 6. This is an important one. Listen to this. This line refers to someone who has isolated himself or herself by abusing power or being insensitive to the needs of others, particularly others who are in dependent positions. In other words, the I-Ching, line 6, is recognizing that there have been leaders who are abusing their power. Shocker, I know. Becoming greedy or power hungry causes one to lose touch because a broad vision is needed to observe the big picture. including what is coming up. The easiest way to lose good fortune is to take it for granted or to abuse the privilege. So this says that if these people keep it up, which is the people who are really wanting other people to perform and compliance and everything else, they're all going to experience not good fortune. So don't abuse your privilege. Don't abuse your power. Don't abuse your power. Oh, all right. Ready for the solution? Get this. Doesn't it always feel like we're heading to the end? Well, the I-Ching, when you put that line in, is line 3. It's the beginning, but it's difficulty. So it's sort of, I get why you feel it's sort of that Pluto influence. I get why you feel like it's the end, but like every circle, circles the end. This is what Brian Adams was talking about on the last CIRF Report comments section. So go back and read his. Very interesting. Like a sun is always rising and setting at the same time. You can't have one without the other. So anyway, let me go ahead and read this. New thing. The birth of a new venture or relationship is an entry into the unknown. New things seem to be rushing upon you, and confusion can easily take over. Confusion can take over. Remember to see all those different alignments in the astrology this week. It can be overwhelming, all the different energies. So confusion can take over. However, chaos is a powerful force when you harness it properly. So don't rush things now. Don't let events overwhelm you. As you take the first step, stay calm and ready to persevere. Ask for guidance and support. According to the I-Ching, this is a great time for coaching, life coaching, therapy, psychotherapy, and even astrology readings, all of which we do at interzension.com. All right, challenges lie ahead, but they are challenges you can handle. The universe will never give you a challenge that you cannot handle. Gain strength, find courage. Like a newborn fawn, the opportunity for rapid development is here. Keep going despite difficulties, and you will find success that you desire. A key challenge at this time is to maintain clarity. Avoid lunging at solutions. Do not start a project or relationship before thinking it through. Make yourself wait until a good course of action becomes clear. A careless step in the beginning can cause events to get out of control later. And be sure to enlist the advice of experienced people and wise supporters. All excellent advice. So let's look at the astrology. This is the last day of our CIRF week. This is the 1st of September. And I chose that because Venus is the furthest along, still 6 degrees away from a pure trine. But anyway, Jupiter is at 25 degrees of Aquarius, which means he's in 30 rave hexagram 30, and also sidereal Capricorn. Incidentally, do you remember the rave from last week? It was that full moon. That was the hint. Remember, it was in hexagram 30, just like what Jupiter is. Remember, the full moon was with Jupiter. And so that full moon still has that stamp on Jupiter and vice versa. It was a very lucky, very optimistic, very fortunate full moon. And boom, this is our gateway to seeing what that manifests. We got about 2 weeks time in here. It's going to be an interesting window. And I think it's going to be pretty positive. Got my fingers crossed anyway. So let's get into the rave. I read a lot of this last week, so I'll just read this. The emotional wave moves from pain to hope. Boom. And remember, it was the clinging fire, but we have a different line this time. It's pragmatism. The balance between extremes. There's the balance again. Brian Adams' comment comes and rings true again. The productive application of energy without wastage, not wasting energy on feelings. This is the flow state. So now we have rave is always in the middle between the influence and the solution. So I love this line because it matches both. It gives you the bridge to the solution. In other words, the influence was the flow, and the state is, or the solution according to the rave, is not wasting energy on feelings. In other words, don't resist feelings. Don't waste energy on them. Don't have tension through this week. That's the flow state. So now you can have the flow state as not just the influence, but also as part integrated into the solution by way of the rave. Now, just so you know, next week, let's see here. Let's see if I can slide this over. Oh, I see what I did. It's over here. Remember the 2-week period for Jupiter? The Jupiter is going to end up being in line 1, which is composure. Still going to be in hexagram 30, but it's going to move into line 1. So the balance in the face of disorder. And very quickly, you're going to be in line 1. So the bulk of the 2 weeks that you have Venus trine Jupiter, you're going to be in this line, which is the maximization of limitation in all cases. Stability through feelings, no matter what the situation. So it's remaining calm throughout, right? On the downside, it's the ability to maintain composure, but at the expense of progress, balance to the feelings, but unable to let go of them. And you've got to balance both of those out. Balance in the face of disorder. All right, that's it. Let's get started on our final slide. It'll give you everything you need to know for this coming week. Go to innerzention.com for guidance of all kinds. Life coaching, psychotherapy, mental health, astrology readings, and human design readings. And also past life regressions and hypnotherapy. Check out innerzention.com. All right, here's our final slide. And we have on top, we have the influence. The main influence is finding flow. I stole this from a place online. It said it was a free JPEG, so I took it. And you got a dude here. I've never done this before. I'm sure some of you have. I'm sure this feels like finding flow. And it probably feels exhilarating. But imagine this guy's, what the heart's doing. Yeah, it's probably beating fast, but it's not just a stressed out heart. It is expanding. It's feeling expansive. It's feeling like you want to live for this moment. That's the flow state. And I think this really exemplifies it. Another indicator is with that massive amount of water, you could easily drown, especially when it's flowing uncontrollably. But it's very peaceful. It's like peaceful in the eye of the storm and exhilarating at the same time. That's the flow state, folks. And you can do it. You don't have to go to the beach to feel this. This can be a mental state, can be an emotional state. You can have huge emotions like grief. I know because I've done this, grief, but feeling like this. Not like glad you're there, but like the peace inside of that grief. That's when you let go of all the resistance of these emotions. I've found through practice that whenever you have a big emotion, it's perhaps the easiest time to willingly get into flow. Otherwise, you have to really do a lot of mental practice to get in there. But when there's an emotion present, all you really have to do is pay attention to the emotion, but accept it, but also relax the entire body, making sure there's no resistance. That's the flow state. All right. Remember, we're in the solution slide, and recall the different triangulations. First, Sidereal Capricorn. We're going to use that. It's ambitious and prudent. We're going to use the rave mandala for the second week in a row. This is the gate of the clinging fire. Emotions are going to turn from pain to hope. The productive application of energy without wastage. and a recognition for the potential for change. Whew, all good stuff, all stuff that we've been looking for. I-Ching 3 says difficulty at the beginning, meaning that this signifies sort of a beginning, not an end. Remember that. If things get really tough and difficult, this is the beginning, folks. Maintain clarity, avoiding lunging at solutions. Think everything through before acting. I mean, these are all really important. And remember, above all, you can handle the challenges. These are part of the I-Ching solution. So when you triangulate all that, here's what you get. Expansive energy and increase will produce challenges and sensations that new things are rushing upon you. It's vital that you stay grounded. So you got that earth energy, so it shouldn't be too hard. Earth energy to stay grounded and calm throughout this week. Don't be lunging at quick fixes. Earth energy doesn't like doing that anyway. It doesn't like lunging at things. So again, staying in the flow of your tasks as well. Think before acting and ask for guidance. As you keep calm and maintain clarity, the gate of the clinging fire will open with Jupiter assistance. Observe this energy carefully. Cycles from pain to hope and urges change towards balance and justice. That's the Venus in Libra. In the application of this energy, it's vital that you maintain balance between productivity without wastage. And so that's one side. You have to maintain balance. And one side is the productivity without wastage. So don't be doing more than you need to. And then you want to balance that with over aggressiveness that chafes against limitations. In other words, that too much work or too ambitious work actually creates more resistance and stunts the progress. So balancing between not enough and too much work. This is grunt work. This is hard work, potentially hard work or mental work. Okay, with Sidereal Capricorn, guide your behaviors with thoughtful and informed goals and objectives. Stay disciplined, watch for and eliminate pessimism, stubbornness, and fear. Got to get out of fear. Fear is the one thing that takes you out of flow. And I guess because fear is such a great controller, I guess they don't want you to be in flow because they want you to be afraid. So don't fear. Stay centered in calm and ground yourself. Seek help, seek guidance. And then balance out. Don't work too hard, but don't not work enough. Okay? There's a balance there. And then all eyes on, I guess, Australia on the 31st. Hopefully, revolution of collective freedom from the handlers, from the psychopaths. This begins. All right, everybody. Thank you, everybody, especially on Telegram. These are more than just comments. There's information flowing through there that there's just so much information. We all need each other's help in finding possible information and then batting back and forth and talking about it, criticizing some and opening our awareness fields through discourse. And so it's not contention. It's not conflict. We all want the same thing. We want truth. We want the best of what Age of Aquarius has, which is openness, disclosure. And holy crap, this thing has gone on 54 minutes. So hope you enjoyed. I got really talkative today. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Have a great week. Cheers.